Since AI has the ability to think, it is very nonsensical for us to make an effort to communicate in a way that AI can understand. Let's have AI participate in the meeting. An AI that can be used just by having it participate in meetings will be realized. This isn't just a meeting record. The development philosophy is different to begin with. We are developing this system as an AI to participate in meetings. Without understanding the value of robots, you cannot create them. The information at the company is mostly never reused. It's better to ask someone who knows the details. And for that, AI is perfectly fine. Large language models are all the same, no matter which one you use. All they can do is make inferences. The difference comes from the number of times they are used. Without knowledge, they have no real value. However, what we are proposing is simply to include AI in meetings. That's all we are asking for. Therefore, if you want to seriously implement AI, if you want to experience AI to its fullest, it begins with donutAI. The time has come to seriously use AI. donutAI. Why is the personal use of generative AI not advancing in Japan? The adoption rate of AI in Japan is 9%, while in the United States it is 46.3%. I will explain the only way to break through this situation. Due to the recent AI boom, generative AI, including ChatGPT, has become a major global trend known to everyone. That being said, in reality, there are very few people who are actually utilizing AI or greatly incorporating it into their work or daily lives. Even when I look around, there is no one who is actively incorporating AI into their work or daily life. In this session, I would like to explain one of the AI systems I am developing, called donutAI, and discuss why the personal use of generative AI is not progressing in Japan. I will delve into the specific causes of this issue and propose solutions. First, I am currently working as the CTO at a company called Donut Robotics Company Limited, where I am involved in the development of AI and robots. In robot development, we are working on the control parts for stationary robots, guide robots, mobile guide robots that move around, and dual-arm robots with 2 arms. In the application services, we are developing services that utilize large language models LLM. The product we have is called donutAI. So, today, I am thinking of presenting to everyone this product that I have seriously created. Let's get started. It seems the time has come to seriously use AI. What do you think of this catchphrase, this title? I tried to come up with something that would pique your interest. The purpose of this title is to convey that the time has come to seriously use AI products, which until now may have seemed like toys. The AI already possesses incredible power, but I actually think that there is a fundamental mistake or a misleading aspect in the way AI is used. In today's talk, we will start with the real reason why AI cannot be effectively utilized, followed by the idea that AI's performance is determined by knowledge. Next, we'll cover AI that originated from robots, and then explain why donutAI is a must-have. We'll also discuss why donutAI is amazing, and finally introduce donutAI itself. Yes, I would like to proceed with these headings. First, I would like to talk a little about the real reason why AI cannot be effectively utilized. According to the Nikkei, the personal usage rate of generative AI in Japan is only 9%, which is significantly behind China and the United States. This is from the White Paper Information and Communications in Japan 2024 edition, released by the Ministry of Internal Affairs and Communications, which compiled a survey indicating that only 9.1% of individuals in Japan are using generative AI and artificial intelligence. According to this article, the most common reason for not using it is that over 40% of people don't know how to use it. Additionally, nearly 40% of people think it's not necessary for their daily lives. This percentage is reportedly the highest compared to other countries. In other countries, it seems that there aren't many people who think they don't know how to use it, or that it's unnecessary for their daily lives. It is likely that the content of this survey pertains to the use of general-purpose AI such as ChatGPT. Therefore, I think this unused part likely reflects whether or not a general-purpose AI is being used. The truth is, there are actually quite a lot of apps available on smartphones that implement generative AI. Therefore, the actual usage rate of generative AI should be something quite different. In other words, we are using it without even realizing it. Therefore, the situation that can be inferred from this article is about the usage rate of general-purpose AI like ChatGPT. This refers to chat AI that can handle anything, such as answering questions, generating images, programming, and writing programming code. In other words, this can be interpreted as indicating two facts. Either the personal use of general-purpose AI is not advancing in Japan, or the use of generative AI is not being recognized. The next point is that general-purpose AI tools are not necessarily used. General-purpose AI tools like ChatGPT are not necessarily always used. What? Let's think about the reasons for using a computer. A personal computer refers to a general-purpose computer that can be customized to suit individual needs. The use of such versatile personal computers is something that only engineers have a need for. If, for example, there were a computer that didn't have any application software like Excel or Word installed, or couldn't have such software installed, people wouldn't buy and use such a computer, right? You wouldn't buy one that can't have those installed. If you're an engineer, even if you have a computer that doesn't come with certain programs, you can write the necessary programs yourself and skillfully utilize that general-purpose computer for various tasks. However, for the average person, a personal computer, or PC, is primarily for using desired software, meaning there must be a clear desire to use specific functions. Without such a purpose, they wouldn't purchase it. Just like with the example of personal computers, it is reasonable to think that general-purpose AI will not be used by the general public. In other words, the use of AI as something that can do anything is only needed by experts and similar people. Most users simply want to easily edit images or videos using AI. Or, without realizing it, they are using features that have been enhanced by AI. It's fair to say that there is only a need for AI that operates within such software. In fact, according to the survey that was in the economic newspaper earlier, there are people who don't understand how to use it or feel that it's not necessary for their lives in the first place. And that's not surprising. If you remember the dawn of the personal computer era, you should understand this well, and probably nod in agreement. During that time, people bought computers to use word processors. They weren't buying computers, they were buying word processors. The company was distributing and buying computers like crazy back then, and even if they told employees, "Here, use these to keep increasing productivity," most people were in a situation where they didn't really know what to use these computers for. It's the same situation. The computer was completely useless. It was only useful as a word processor. To elaborate further, when it comes to what everyone thought, they were saying that computers were something handled by geeks. The same thing can be said about this. The general-purpose AI like this ChatGPT, well, everyone thinks it's not useful right now. And there's also the idea that people can't possibly master it, especially since they're not engineers. Another topic I will explain is the real reason why AI cannot be effectively utilized. To begin with, in addition to being a type of general-purpose AI that is extremely unfamiliar to the average person, there are also significant issues and mistakes on the part of the companies that want to advance its implementation. For example, it's like this. The president says, "It seems we'll be in trouble if we don't introduce it," or "It seems that productivity will increase if we do it," and immediately gives orders to his subordinates to implement it. The subordinates and employees, in response to that, might study through the internet or books, or they might even hire some AI consultant. And then, they would receive training. Common training sessions or courses are often structured like this. Understand AI technology and its applications in business. Acquire skills to efficiently utilize AI tools, such as chatbots, in your work. Improve AI literacy to enhance the productivity of the entire organization. Learn about ethical and legal considerations and approaches in AI utilization. These are the kinds of things that are typically covered. What are they trying to make us do? When you ask everyone what they think, they might say, "Are they making us do something complicated again? Do we have to learn something difficult again?" The same thing happened with computers. That's the kind of content this is. but this is the reality of what's happening in the society. Moreover, after taking this training, there hasn't been any progress in AI utilization or a significant increase in productivity. On the contrary, a recent survey showed that productivity actually decreased. For the employees, they can't even imagine that using this would increase productivity. As a result, it just ends up taking away their time. Naturally, it also adds stress. Furthermore, regarding the content and curriculum, you often see content like this. So, this is just an excerpt, so it's not everything, but basically, the focus is on how to increase productivity and how much we can enhance our understanding of AI. It's essentially about everyone understanding AI and becoming smarter. This is incredibly challenging. At one point, there was a term that became popular: prompt engineering. As a basic principle of this prompt engineering, when asking questions to AI, you should convey the background of the question you intend to ask. Additionally, to make it easier for AI to respond, you should assign a role to the AI. To begin with, even though I'm not good at writing myself, I have to first become capable of creating sophisticated text. Because of doing things like this, the survey results showed that the amount of work itself increased. I thought I would increase efficiency by introducing AI, but the fact is that it ended up increasing my workload. It's not just something people saying arbitrarily, it's the truth. Since it's a computer that's supposed to think, and it's AI that's supposed to think for us, I wanted to leave the thinking to it, but instead, the time I spend thinking has increased. That's the situation. Of course, if AI literacy improves, understanding AI well and effectively using such general-purpose AI can indeed significantly boost production efficiency. If you can program a computer, your productivity will skyrocket. That's obvious, but it requires a lot of specific skills and study. It's like telling ordinary people that everyone should become an engineer. Therefore, even if we actively implement a curriculum like this, productivity is not going to increase. This is easily predictable. The optimal solution I have in mind is actually much simpler. When we truly want to introduce AI and utilize it effectively, this method won't work. We need to implement a much simpler approach. So, what is the correct answer? It's simply these two things: ask AI and rely on AI. The other party is an AI with the ability to think, so it's very nonsensical for us to make an effort to communicate in a way that the AI can understand. To put it more strongly, you could even say it's putting the cart before the horse. Even though we're using AI, what does it mean for us to make an effort? It's nonsense to say that we have to think more. What we expect from AI is the ability to ask questions or rely on it without any preparation. That is the true form of AI, the form of AI that should be usable. First, let's have AI participate in the meeting. By simply having AI participate in meetings, usable AI can be realized. Why is that? A useful AI is one that teaches us and is beneficial to us, right? An AI that teaches and is useful is actually an AI that knows the company's information and the organization's information. Modern AI is often said to be at a doctorate level. It's that intelligent. I believe that's true. But an AI that knows the company's information is an AI that possesses a lot of useful knowledge for employees. An AI that doesn't know company information understands general things, but doesn't know anything about the company itself. In other words, it's an AI that doesn't have useful knowledge for employees. Both are incredibly smart, you know? If there's something you don't understand within the company, normally you can ask other employees and they will provide an answer. Even if you ask a man walking around that area, he won't tell you anything about his company, right? This is only natural. In short, it is clear that an AI that knows the company's information has overwhelmingly higher capabilities compared to an AI that does not know the company's information. To reiterate, the performance of AI is determined by its knowledge. The AI that is well versed in the company's operations, trends, characteristics, achievements, and rules will naturally be knowledgeable about the company. Therefore, it will be able to provide quick and accurate answers to any questions related to the company. AI like this can answer straightforward questions from employees with almost complete accuracy, even if we haven't prepared anything in particular on our end. So, where is the best place to gather information about the company? You might think, I have to prepare for this, don't I? There was a lot going on, right? You have to know about the business operations, be aware of the company's trends, and be familiar with past achievements. Naturally, you also need to know the regulations and rules. But you think you have to prepare for all that, don't you? How do you gather this kind of information? There is a place where company information comes together. That place is meetings. It's meetings, isn't it? Company information gathers in meetings, right? Basically, things in a company are decided in meetings. The best place to obtain company information is in meetings. Moreover, you can gather all the information about daily operations in meetings as well. An AI that knows company information is familiar with things like regulations, business rules, and performance records, so it doesn't need detailed explanations from us. The donutAI we are developing is not just a meeting minutes system. The fundamental development philosophy is different. We are creating this system as an AI that participates in meetings. It's not a minute system, it's an AI that participates in meetings. That is what is known as donutAI. We are, to begin with, a company that develops robots. Therefore, the AI that originated from robots, namely donutAI, can be said to be a general-purpose AI developed by Robotics Inc. that is optimal for business. These can be succinctly referred to as robot AI technology. This is the donutAI, and currently, it is implemented as an AI that participates in meetings. Right now, it's the first generation, and what we are considering next is the second generation, which will become a comprehensive business support platform. The idea is that it will evolve into that, and I'll explain a bit about it. As I said at the beginning, this is what we envision as just ask to AI and just rely to AI. And it is the embodiment of the type of AI we are trying to realize. To begin with, what is the value of a robot? This is something we talk about a lot in our videos. If you don't know the value of a robot, you can't build one. The AI we are developing now, which participates in meetings, is also a robot. So, when we talk about the value of robots, there are these 5 aspects. Originally, there were 4, but I recently added one more. First, they are fast and accurate. That's right. Robots are faster than humans and make fewer mistakes, which is a characteristic of theirs. Therefore, one of the roles and features of robots is that they can save time and perform high-quality work. Next, they can work anytime. Unlike humans, robots can work without taking breaks. So they can handle tasks at any time, doing the necessary work as much as needed whenever it's needed. Next, substitute labor. Robots perform tasks that are dangerous, troublesome, or boring for humans on our behalf. This is also an important aspect of robots. And then, it enables new possibilities. Robots have the potential to achieve things that humans cannot do, things that I personally cannot do, or things that humanity as a whole cannot do. This is because they are different from humans. There are many things they can do that surpass us, both quantitatively and qualitatively. Of course, there are also things that current robots cannot do that we can. However, they are indispensable for realizing new things for us. Next, one of the reasons for using robots is the optimal cooperative relationship they can provide. This means that robots can build cooperative relationships with humans, regardless of their different traits or personalities. Robots can unilaterally adapt to humans, to each individual. This is not the case with human interactions, as there are people who get along and people who do not. However, robots can fully adapt to humans and commit to them. In that sense, yes, it is easy to create an optimal cooperative relationship or to bring out the talents of the other party. Furthermore, I believe that robots can even step in between humans to facilitate smooth communication, and I think that is the role of robots. This donutAI is a must-have for a reason. It means it's an indispensable presence, something you can't do without. One of the reasons it's a must-have is that it has 2 important engines. I simply believe that if these 2 functions can be thoroughly developed, it will lead to the realization of a very useful AI. The first one is the automatic knowledge base. In other words, without us having to specifically instruct it, even if nothing changes from now, even if we don't change anything, it accumulates information on its own. That's what a knowledge base is. It gathers know-how and unique information that can only be found there, and makes it usable as data. A knowledge base. Another element is the exceptionally smart AI advisor. The AI that handles this information really needs to be exceptionally smart. We create various AIs, have them work together to produce answers, and even have AIs that check the results. By combining these, our job is to build a more robust and more competent AI. Thus, creating this exceptionally smart AI advisor is another engine driving our efforts. Let's get into the specifics from here. In our daily work, gathering and managing information can be quite a hassle, right? Questions like, who was in charge of that? Or where did that go? Are common for me in everyday life. And then there's, who should I ask about this? Or, if I just organize things, the day will be over. Or, I forgot to record it. Yes, there are times when I have no idea what's going on. So, with the automatic knowledge base, it can collect information on its own and manage it, right? I believe this is the kind of work that AI or computers should be doing. That's why I focused on the idea of AI automatically gathering information. Therefore, we want to make it so that no special operations are necessary for the users. As it is written here, it's shown as a thick red line. But first and foremost, we want to make gathering information from meetings our main source of information collection. There are other things too. There is information uploaded to the cloud, information on the PC, call records, and various other things. But the simplest one, the meeting minutes, that you can just attach when having a meeting, is what we want to use for information gathering. So, it's a bit thicker, but we are putting it into the database. This isn't an ordinary database. It's something called a vector DB, which is designed to be easy for AI to use and understand. And the data is stored in terms of meaning. Even when we say dog in a single word, it's unclear whether we're referring to a picture of a dog, the sound of a dog barking, the shape of a dog, or the color of a dog. There are various forms of dog, aren't there? However, in terms of meaning, it's still dog. That's the way it is stored. When you say gather dogs, it's a database where things like the sounds of dogs, the shapes of dogs, and the colors of dogs all come together in a big way. AI automatically gathers information. To put this technical discussion simply, it involves data integration and automatic collection, meaning that data is collected while being neatly organized. Additionally, it is done in real time. The goal is to make it possible without having to wait. Furthermore, AI creates proposal documents. It also organizes this as your own information. Therefore, in short, AI gathers information by itself, extracts important information from it, and then neatly organizes it into something like a report, for example. It creates and organizes the report by itself. So, with AI, things can be organized in a very easy to understand manner. This is something that a mere database cannot do. Another aspect is task extraction and management by AI. For example, during a meeting, there might be conversations like, please have this done by this date, or, okay, I understand. I'll ask so-and-so to handle it. Discussions about what needs to be done by when, or what kind of concept to proceed with, take place in meetings, and someone commits to the results. The AI listens to all of that. What AI can do in this context is to extract and manage tasks, such as who has to do what by when. That can be done easily with current technology. By having AI participate in meeting, I would like it to handle those things automatically. Things are really tough right now in the business scene. You know what I mean, right? In other words, there are just too many tasks. Every day, for example, in a project management tool like Backlog, my tasks are lined up endlessly. Almost all of them have flame icons, like do. You work hard to get through them, and before you know it, the day is over. Moreover, registering that is also part of the job. Otherwise, things get overlooked, and before you know it, tasks aren't completed, and progress isn't made. That's how the world is these days, isn't it? So, I really don't want to do that, especially myself. Therefore, I'd like it to be done automatically once the meeting is over. If it were possible, it would be really helpful if a manager or secretary could handle those kinds of tasks, wouldn't it? So, if you want to have AI act as a secretary, first you need to have AI participate in meetings. That's what it comes down to. For example, automatically capturing meeting minutes and generating tasks. This means that when you have a meeting, the AI will convert the audio data into text in real time. Then, it will input this into the knowledge base and data, allowing you to extract keywords, classify topics, and perform quite detailed tasks. And then, AI can sufficiently infer things like who said what and how, and what should be done next. Based on that, it can create meeting minutes, or say, alright, let's create a report for this project, and things like that. Most people would probably imagine something like ChatGPT for this. You ask a question, and boom, you get a response right away. And you might think, oh, it didn't return anything significant. However, as I'll explain later, when you use something called chain of thought, or step-by-step reasoning, it works incredibly well. First, we pull out the important keywords and set them aside for a moment. Then, when the next AI comes to look at them, if they are neatly organized, it can arrange them nicely and put them into a report. This kind of division of tasks is possible, and it actually allows for great accuracy. Next is the dashboard. The resulting action items, like who needs to do what and when, are registered in something you might call issue management. By doing so, you can track who needs to do what and when, and who hasn't done what. The AI can grasp these things. I want this system to reliably handle those aspects as well. Information retrieval from the knowledge base and automatic generation of proposal documents. For example, let's say you want to make a proposal to a new client. At that time, you would hold a kickoff meeting or something similar. In that meeting, you would discuss various things about Company A's industry and what might be advantageous for Company A. When you do that, AI will separately gather information such as trends in Company A's industry, past data, and success stories. This will enable the creation of a better proposal. The flow for this process is written here. Ultimately, we will submit the proposal documents. And not only will we submit the proposal documents, but another AI will also review the submitted proposal. It will also make revisions. For example, let's say AI comes up with a proposal. It might be that the research is insufficient, or there might be false information, but these are things that can also happen with humans. However, AI is extremely good at checking. AI is better at checking than humans. It's definitely better to let AI handle the checking. For example, even if we can't draw, we can still tell whether a drawing is good or not, right? What this means is that we can recognize quality, even if we can't create it ourselves. This is the same for AI. Even an AI that doesn't have very good performance can still perform checks. An AI with not so great performance might not be able to create much, might lack creativity, and might not be able to make very good things, but it can still perform checks. It's the same with humans. Even if a person doesn't have the ability to draw, they can still evaluate art and discern its quality. It's the same with AI. Checking doesn't cost anything for AI. In other words, it's something AI is good at. Therefore, I think AI should definitely be tasked with things like reviewing proposals or proposal materials and evaluating them to see if there are any strange parts. It should also be responsible for making corrections. Risk management and decision-making support. This is something you hear about quite often. But for example, there are risk assessments in management meetings. These really don't go well. The reason they don't go well is that there's often a lack of fundamental information. Individual judgments differ, biases come into play, and various factors make it difficult for humans to handle. Therefore, things like risk management and decision support depend on how accurate and well prepared the materials for making decisions are. It's not about the intelligence of the person making the decision. That's where AI excels. Therefore, it gathers information from the knowledge base that has already been accumulated and helps us create information that allows us to make decisions easily or accurately. It specializes in identifying and analyzing risk factors, so it produces analysis results and reports them. If you just hold meetings, the likelihood of receiving such reports increases significantly. As expected, no special operations are needed at this time either. Next, I think there are people who say that there is never enough time in their daily work and that their heads are about to explode. I also feel like my head is about to explode every day. The reasons for this include not having enough people, not having enough time, many issues being difficult to solve, deadlines not being met, and summarizing things being a hassle. I think everyone feels like saying yes to this. Now, regarding this point, in donutAI, the AI uses the automatic knowledge base to experiment and come up with the best proposals, thereby aiming to solve the kind of problems we were just discussing. AI can continue to make optimal suggestions from its wealth of knowledge. Current LLMs are so surprisingly inexpensive that they almost only cost electricity, a level that can be used all day long. This might be a bit technical, but we're talking about vector databases. It mentions maximizing the value of information assets, and by vectorizing, you can retrieve information based on meaning, as we discussed earlier. The information you currently have is often in a state where you don't know where it is, what category it belongs to, or whether it's in document form. However, almost all the information being accumulated now is not useful to the company. That's because it can't be retrieved. However, by converting it into a vector DB or vector data, you can extract the meaning. So if you manage this well, you can just dump a lot of data in, and AI will neatly organize it for you. This is very important. This is something that can be done precisely because it's AI. Since it can operate 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, it can continuously do such things. Within that, it can engage in trial and error and make advanced proposals, which ultimately leads to strengthening individuals, organizations, and companies. In terms of the technical aspects of this, it's about the optimal integration of a knowledge base, which isn't easy. It's about structuring things so that you can efficiently recall and reuse the many elements available. The human brain is quite well designed, isn't it? It can recall the necessary information when needed. We should optimize based on that model. Naturally, as we do that, unnecessary special user interfaces will also disappear. Web services today are really complex. I want to eliminate the feeling of, do I have to learn this too? As much as possible. So I aim to create a simple user interface. I believe this is possible precisely because of AI, and I refer to this as AI native. That's what I'm aiming for. This is an example of use. It is an optimal task proposal for project management. Project management is difficult indeed. Today's, it's a time when you can't afford to do project management on paper, when it's supposed to be done collaboratively. For example, hold a meeting, kickoff meeting. At the kickoff meeting, AI will organize the project outline and discussion, analyze tasks such as this must be done by this date and this must be done next, and suggest or automatically register them. To elaborate further, we conduct monitoring. What is monitoring, you ask? It's essentially checking if everyone is doing things properly. AI is good at checking. Having someone by your side is really important, isn't it? There are times when your motivation doesn't rise, and if you don't do something for a bit, you end up forgetting about it. That happens often, but having someone to somehow follow up with you is crucial. In this context, it's about managing and optimizing progress. This is typically the job of a manager, but I think it's something AI should be doing. Certainly, here's an example of usage. Automatic generation of optimal proposal materials in sales activities. It might not be understood by someone who isn't a salesperson engaged in sales activities, but creating these proposal documents when doing sales is really tough. There are many customers, and if you intend to engage with various places, the work will increase even more. Furthermore, in terms of document visuals, making things easy to see and such, it's a really challenging job. That seems like it can't be done unless the person has those abilities. And this is attached to sales activities. For example, when a customer makes an inquiry, we collect information, including the exchange of that inquiry, and connect to the internet to get more information about the other party. In this way, AI can provisionally create proposal documents for Company B, which is quite useful in itself. The proposal document that was created will be registered again in the knowledge base for further use. By doing so, trends will gradually become apparent, and AI will be able to generate documents more smoothly. Optimizing the handling of internal inquiries overlaps a bit with what I just mentioned. But when employees ask questions about the company, even in small to medium-sized enterprises, the company's rules and regulations can be extremely complex. If we don't properly create those things nowadays, we'll get in trouble. So we have to be extremely detailed. For example, when it comes to internal company regulations, there are work regulations and various other rules, and there are usually a lot of them in a company. It's safe to say that there are almost no people who can fully grasp all of that, as it spans many pages. Alright, when you ask something like that, AI can give you an immediate answer. Furthermore, even for things like expense approval documents, which might be a bit confusing, it can quickly teach you because it already knows. Furthermore, Based on the types of questions employees ask and such trends, you can organize your knowledge and thoughts, allowing you to respond to a wider variety of situations. The information assets that are rarely used, I briefly mentioned this earlier. Most of the information within a company is hardly ever reused. It just doesn't happen, given the sheer volume. Things like, I've never looked back at it, or you can't use it when you need it, and it's better to ask someone who knows more about it because searching is a hassle. There are also situations like, what happened with that, or what happened with this. Additionally, it's often like, I'm sorry, the person in charge isn't here, so I don't know. It's always things like that. Here's a little hint, but it's better to ask someone who knows more about it. And for that, AI is perfectly fine. Let's turn information assets into valuable information in the knowledge base on our own. What does it mean to turn it into valuable information? It means consolidating the information into one. By collecting information and consolidating it into one, it means converting it into vector data, as I mentioned earlier, and making it accessible for AI to handle. When you do that, any information becomes valuable on its own. This picture explains how to automatically classify and organize information using certain technologies or methodologies. Sure, let's move on to the next example. Knowledge sharing and utilization in the sales team. This sales team, you see, automatically collects information, materials, and data related to the sales team using AI. It gathers the kind of information that the sales team handles, automatically collecting it during meetings. In such situations, the sales team relies on AI for information retrieval. They can ask things like, what happened with that? Or, what's going on with this? Or, what is the asset status of such and such company? They can inquire about various pieces of information at this point. Listen and gather information. Based on that, if it leads to something like, let's create proposal materials in this direction, then naturally, the process of generating proposal materials can proceed smoothly. Creating this without involving a meeting is quite challenging. However, with this approach, it becomes incredibly easy. So, to elaborate further, it means registering the decisions made there as tasks, and then managing the progress in real time. When it gets to this point, the amount of work we have to do decreases significantly, allowing us to work smoothly. The content starts to get a bit repetitive around here, so I'll skip over it a bit. But it talks about things like, this is how it is in the product development team, or this is how it is in the HR department. It's probably the kind of story that was explained at the beginning. But, with the way AI is being used now, everyone thinks that you need to get accustomed to AI, don't they? Well, it's true. What was the result? The result was just more work. Or it didn't turn out as expected. Also, I don't know what kind of instructions to give. AI requires appropriate instructions. What should I use it for? I don't even know where to apply it in the first place. Also, I can't keep up with the rapid progress. This might be a common feeling, right? In the field of AI and related areas, things change very quickly. So in the sense that it's necessary to know the characteristics of AI, it's quite difficult to keep up. There is also a concern about producing incorrect results. This is generally referred to as hallucination. But the real issue is whether we are aware of the hallucination or not. People tend to think that making mistakes is bad, but that's not the case at all. Humans, of course, make mistakes too. When you look at the mechanism by which hallucinations occur, it's essentially creativity itself. So, it's essentially imagination. And to be honest, prohibiting that itself is nonsensical. If anything, those kinds of hallucinations, where it seems like lies are being told, should be checked and corrected afterward. It's clear that no one really understands that aspect. People who say it's bad because there are hallucinations probably don't know anything. Let me explain a little about the exceptionally smart AI advisor. It is indeed a very user-friendly AI. I think this expression needs a bit more refinement, but in any case, the idea is that AI will lead the way in how it's used. So, I want to say that we won't make you think about how to use it. I believe we should realize something that doesn't require you to get used to it. So, the knowledge from earlier can often resolve most of that. To talk about the technical side, AI is able to make its own decisions based on a pre-prepared action policy, so it has a rough understanding. It can judge what kind of questions users might ask and how to interpret them based on the company's information, which makes it a completely different AI. The idea is that by storing such things as a skill index, in other words, As skills, you can always propose the best methods to the user. Even with vague instructions, it's okay. The system can understand user instructions step by step. And even if there are vague expressions or incomplete instructions, it can grasp the intent. To be honest, it's actually better at this than humans. You might think, really? But this is a fact. The reason for this is that by understanding the company's trends or information, you can actually consider the background of the words spoken by the user. This allows for the creation of well-considered content rather than responding instantaneously like a human might. As a result, even if the user speaks casually, you can generally understand the background or intent and respond accordingly. This is really quite amazing level, even with ChatGPT. However, it seems like it's saying nonsensical things simply because it doesn't know any of our information, but in reality, its ability to understand intent is actually quite high. When discussing technical matters, AI employs a method called the chain of thought. This involves the AI thinking through a problem, then passing its conclusions to the next AI for another round of checking. Once the checking is complete, the AI attempts to execute the task. If a failure occurs, it makes some adjustments. By repeating this chain of processes, the accuracy can be significantly improved. It's the same for humans, right? It's definitely better to take your time to think and come up with an answer while writing it down on paper, rather than just responding on the spot. The same thing happens, and that's what is being described. The phrase, the more you use it, the smarter it becomes, is actually not about learning in the traditional sense. Although it does include some elements of that. The modern LLMs are already fully developed, so they don't need to grow any further. At that point, if you give them instructions, they will operate according to those instructions. You can also embed all sorts of information into those instructions, abstracting things like a person's tendencies. To put it simply, let's say there's someone you often meet. When you think, this person is like this, you make a note of it to get to know them better. You also note things like, they have this habit, or they often do this action repeatedly. This is what AI does. By doing this, with just a few notes, AI becomes rapidly smarter. This is what you make AI do. By combining AI with such tools, we can enhance performance. Currently, the tool is just a simple notepad. By improving performance in this way, it becomes an easy-to-use AI. And ultimately, this will lead to the realization of the exceptionally smart AI advisor. That's the idea. So, I feel the limits of my own abilities. If there were hypothetically a situation where I feel the limits while working, it's because I lack skills or knowledge. After all, humans have limited time, so it's a matter of lacking time or experience. Something like feeling that I lack imagination. This is because routine work is increasing, and there is no time to think slowly, so that area isn't being trained either. Also, the changes in technology and industry are fast, and I can't keep up. After all, due to the diversification of the world and the acceleration of innovation and reform, things keep changing rapidly. So, there's just a lot of work anyway. It's been increasing more and more recently, and this is due to the expansion of the scope of work. It's no longer the era where you could just do this one thing and be done, so the complexity and amount of work that one person has to handle have also increased. There are problems that cannot be solved. I think there will always be such problems. Moreover, I think it's fair to say that this tendency has increased. This is because there are limits to our own knowledge and skills. Our brains have limits, and there will always be problems that we cannot solve. To solve these issues, we provide AI capable of solving complex problems. So, it's a case of what couldn't be done can now be resolved. This means that there are many cases where AI can handle quantities, difficulties, or complexities that humans cannot manage. By doing so, it solves problems. Of course, since it has reasoning abilities at the level of a doctorate, if used well, it can fully demonstrate capabilities beyond ours and achieve things we couldn't, making it possible to solve complex problems. Here, we have something that came up: chain of thought, step-by-step reasoning. And there's also something called refinement. It involves gradually improving your initial response, looking at it, and then thinking about it again yourself, and repeating this process. Additionally, it's about task decomposition. In other words, instead of looking at a sentence all at once, you break it down and consider each part individually. And then there's self-consistency. For example, comparing what you said before, or having multiple AIs, like 3 or 4, think simultaneously to reach a conclusion. You can think of it as the difference between reaching a conclusion by thinking alone, or reaching a conclusion by having 3 people think simultaneously. Things like that can operate as long as there's electricity, so you can manage somehow. The division of labor has advanced, and there are many things I don't understand these days. It's also difficult to consult with experts. There's a shortage of experts, and it might involve a high workload and cost money as well. And it takes time to identify the cause. This is always due to a lack of data. So, we have no idea at all. There are often situations where there are neither logs nor records, and keeping records also incurs costs. The same work is being duplicated, or similar tasks are being done, right? This is often caused by a lack of information sharing. Also, it's hard to see the big picture. I think it's quite difficult to see the big picture right now. But there seems to be a feeling of, why am I doing this work I'm doing now? The know-how isn't being accumulated. It's always difficult. It doesn't get any easier. And this is also due to a lack of a culture of information sharing. When trying to do things like this, a culture of accumulating such know-how is necessary. But that's also quite difficult, isn't it? So, regarding another aspect of the exceptionally smart AI advisor, it's about being a reliable expert. This is already at a professional level of thinking. It means that professional consulting becomes possible. This involves, precisely, information and knowledge in specialized fields, as well as rules and guidelines for behavior. One could even call it ethics, for example. When you consider having someone provisionally act as a lawyer, they are taught what it means to be a lawyer, with the idea that this is how a lawyer should be. If you provide such information as a manual, they can basically act in accordance with it. One can operate in accordance with the guidelines, provide expert knowledge, and has sufficient doctoral-level reasoning ability. Therefore, basically, one can fulfill the role of a reliable expert. However, legally, for example, it cannot replace a lawyer, or it cannot replace a medical doctor. Those are different issues. The technology needed to achieve that is what is being described here. A content with a basis. Reliable experts, as expected, have a basis for what they talk about. That's only natural. So we will have AI do the same thing. That way, it becomes a trustworthy AI. In order to provide a basis, we store the information that serves as evidence in the knowledge base. This allows it to identify precarious situations on its own. In short, I make sure to check for myself whether I'm not telling lies, whether this is correct, and where the basis for it lies. When you do that, it generally makes AI less likely to lie than humans. Of course, there's the characteristic of AI being resistant to bias. When examining the content and checking what the AI itself has said, it's quite adept at checking things like, is there any bias, or are ethical considerations being made? That means it will become a more reliable AI, right? So it's like having an auditing AI attached to it. And physically, it's possible to attach not just one, but even 100 people, so to speak. We have the concern that mistakes won't disappear, don't we? The sharing of information is not going well. There's an overload of information. There are too many things to remember, and that's one of the reasons. There's also the diversity of system tools. There are so many things nowadays, and it's tough just to check emails. I have to look at Slack, I have to look at backlog, and being surrounded by all these different tools is really challenging. Creating a manual is challenging. You have to make a manual that outlines steps to avoid mistakes, right? Otherwise, people won't be able to do things properly, and it will be full of errors. You have to say things like, make sure to check this 3 times, because people tend to forget. So, creating such a manual is also a difficult task. Also, the checklist increases. When you try to ensure there are no mistakes in tasks, the checklist increases, which means the work of creating checklists also increases. I think the cause might be the complication of procedures. Also, the work is too complicated. Recently, the tasks have become complex. This is indeed due to a lack of system uniformity, and we have a tendency to keep adding more and more rules. It's really difficult for us to eliminate what already exists. There is something called the status quo bias, and there is a strong resistance to making changes. It is possible to increase, but doing so would end up strangling oneself. And generally, tasks become more complex. That's the reason mistakes occur. In our exceptionally smart AI advisor, it's an AI capable of performing multiple checks, providing a high sense of security. It can constantly analyze information. Moreover, you can search the internet and bring up 3 or 4 sources to perform a fact check to see if they contain the same information. We do the same thing, right? If there are 3 or 4 sources and they are the same, you can say with 99.9% certainty that it's correct. In addition to that, AI can think about whether there are any logical errors, so it can perform a multi-check, which is reassuring. It's about a dynamic dashboard AI. This also falls under multi-check, and it's something where AI checks our actions. Individuals or teams exchange schedules and progress, but AI substitutes in that area to support the completion of the user's work, ensuring that tasks can be properly finished. It's something where AI commits to helping you. To do that, you need something called a dashboard, which automatically handles things like breaking down tasks, registering them, and setting priorities. It does this in accordance with the guidelines. When the time comes, it supports you. It asks things like, are you doing it? How is it going? I was thinking about this and considering the next thing. Actually, inside the company right now, we have robots, guide robots, operating. Having something physical is really appealing. And for example, when a meeting is about to start, an alert goes off. An alert goes off. There are times when an alert goes off on the computer, and at that moment, I just happened to be outside making a phone call, or I was so focused that I didn't see the alert. These things happen all the time. However, everyone is waiting. Here's what would happen if there were a physical presence. A guide robot could come up next to me and say something. It could say something like, the meeting is about to start. This is very simple, but there are quite a few things that can't be done without a robot, without a physical presence, rather than just AI. Even if it's not an incredibly expensive robot, it can do that much, right? Then the robot tells you, and you think, oh, that's right. And it's the same as when a person comes to call you. So you say, let's go. And you go, don't you? The robot then said, you are all here, and now I will take the minutes, and recorded the proceedings using a high-performance microphone. It will be able to do that kind of thing. I think it's worth it just for that. So, the combination with robots is really great. It's not just information, you see. It's meaningful because it's interactive information. You can really commit to it that way when there's a physical aspect. Even with the same multi-check, there is talk that it would be better if there was a robot, if there was a physical element. The reason why donutAI is amazing is actually summarized here. The donutAI we create is conceptually a robot AI. In other words, it is about having the role of a robot and being an AI. Therefore, we are creating it while asking ourselves, does the AI we are currently developing have value as a robot? That's what we're explaining. Fast and accurate, capable of substitute labor, able to work anytime, making new things possible, and the optimal cooperative relationship, right? It's saying that this donutAI addresses each of these aspects. The question being posed here is whether your meeting minutes are valuable to a robot. What we offer is an AI that participates in meetings, essentially a robot that attends meetings, so it aligns with this concept. Within the circles in the diagram are words such as services and relationships, as well as time savings, agent, discovery, and invention. It is about contributing to those things. I want to create something that people can't help but use. The current AI environment is terrible. Even if you recall the first article I mentioned, you can understand that the AI usage environment is the worst. I think it's safe to say that there's an incredible amount of misleading happening. If it's not something that you can't help but use, there's no point in using it. And it's fine if people don't use it. It's meaningless, isn't it? It just makes things more difficult. The reasons for not using it are written on the left, and the reasons for using it are written on the right. I'll explain this briefly, but the reason for not using it is that its reliability is low. It doesn't do anything significant, and it only uses back and forth responses, so the reliability is low to begin with. And it doesn't know anything. However, with donutAI's AI advisor, it already knows the preliminary information and the company's information. It uses the chain of thought and step-by-step reasoning to thoroughly consider and check things. Therefore, it can ensure a level of reliability that allows it to be integrated into business operations. I believe this is an area where costs should be invested. Even if it's somewhat expensive, it's better to have it done multiple times. However, as will be mentioned later, AI is becoming significantly cheaper now, so you can start using it. The cost has already become that reasonable. Therefore, ultimately, you can expect deeper integration into more complex tasks. Changing usage scenarios. How has it been until now? It's generally just providing information, right, in terms of how it's been used. For example, if it's Alexa, listening to the weather forecast, listening to the news, and even if there were an AI chatbot in the company, it would mainly be used for Q&A and FAQs. Simple task support and reminders. Just letting you know, that's all it can do for now. However, exceptionally smart AI advisor makes it possible to solve complex problems. It can strongly support areas like project planning, committing to tasks as mentioned earlier, managing our work schedule, and so on. Moreover, it can also handle things at a professional consulting level. The aspect I find most valuable is the team collaboration part. It supports making collaborative work smoother. That's why the use cases expand. This is also something I consider very important. The rapidly increasing sense of anticipation. This means that the sense of anticipation must be heightened. I want to boost everyone's motivation. After all, if they just use it for meetings, it will become incredibly convenient afterward. The exit becomes convenient, and the entry is a breeze since you just have to press a button. However, even with that, there are still hurdles. That's why I want to keep improving more and more. It's necessary to become someone that everyone wants to rely on and listen to. That's why the title is The Rapidly Increasing Sense of Anticipation. So, up until now, there were only low expectations based on typical responses. Everyone thinks that nothing significant will be said anyway. It's because the questions are poorly phrased, so it can't be helped. As for its use, it's mostly limited to answering simple questions or providing everyday support. It might even be the case that people are using it simply because AI itself is novel and has a buzz around it, and they're just enjoying casual conversations or humorous responses. That doesn't contribute to productivity at all. However, that's become one form of evaluation. I think this will quickly become outdated and synonymous with being useless. What we envision as an AI advisor is something that can be expected to provide high-quality responses. We want it to be at a level where it can be used for important decision-making. To tell you the truth, our technical skills don't really matter here. The key point about smart AI is this. LLMs, in other words, large language models, are essentially the same no matter which one you use. All they can do is make inferences. Any of them will make inferences. The differences are just in the level of variation in the inference results. At that level, you could say it's much of a muchness. Where the difference comes into play is the number of times, how frequently you do it, and also how much information you have at your disposal. Intelligence isn't related to our technology. For example, if we say, let's have it think about this advice 5 times, then it becomes 5 times smarter, to put it simply. That's how it is. The era where we make things smarter with our technology is already over. That era has long since passed. So, how we design that aspect is where we can showcase our skills. Therefore, you can assume that smart advice is something AI already can provide. The useful AI on the right side in image is capable of offering personalized support with high expectations and explainability. As I mentioned earlier, since we can continually enhance its intelligence, you can keep your expectations high. This is simply about taking the minutes I mentioned at the beginning, and with that, we can introduce this advanced AI system that I have developed. This is a rough diagram explaining that. The one in the middle here is it. Below the section that says, just taking minutes, is donutAI. When there is a meeting, donutAI actually assists with the meeting as well. During the meeting, it can display the current flow of the meeting. So if someone joins midway, they can look at it and understand, oh, this is what they were talking about. Even during the conversation, it can provide advice like, wouldn't it be better to discuss this as the next step? And so on. It provides that in real time. Rather than just assisting with meetings, we ultimately want it to facilitate them. It's not perfect right now, but before long, we believe we can offer an incredibly useful facilitator AI. According to this diagram, after the meeting ends, it creates the minutes. On the right side, there are the meeting minutes. We will also output the task information there. At the same time, there is an automatic task management feature that sets deadlines for tasks decided during the meeting, like let's do this by this date. The meeting minutes are just the meeting minutes, right? But you can also create something like a report for a specific purpose. For example, if you have a meeting for the board of directors, you would create a report for the board of directors. If it's a sales meeting, you would create proposal materials for company A. That's the kind of work it would involve. Therefore, I think it would be good for AI to handle roughly these 3 types of tasks. These will also be feedback. The materials and minutes created here will be accumulated as information assets of the company. They will be useful in the future. For example, if there is a similar case, you will know that you had a similar meeting before. It pulls it in. Then, it can be read by AI. So, you can load information related to this meeting, and when you do that, it loads it up. The AI might say things like, previously you said this, you did this. If it's the same as before, it's like this. But wouldn't it be better to do it this way? The AI can easily propose such things, creating an environment where it can do so. This is very important. It might also be good for regular meetings. We have meetings on the 1st of every month, and the AI already understands the previous meetings, something like that. It would be nice if it could be done automatically, wouldn't it? Well, that's something that can be done. When you look at everything as a whole, it's an incredibly advanced AI system. To tell the truth, without knowledge, it doesn't have any real value. There are various tools, but if the company's information is not organized and stored, it becomes extremely difficult for the people using them. I don't think there's any value in introducing AI in such a case. However, what we propose is to simply incorporate AI into meetings. That's our only request. The product we are currently offering, called donutAI, has these features. To briefly summarize, it can handle technical terms and translate languages. It can translate what the other person is saying, translate around 100 different languages, automatically recognize languages, and if someone is speaking English, the AI can understand that it's English. During meetings, you can chat with the AI about the meeting content, including meeting materials and everything everyone is saying, via text. So you can ask things like, what did so-and-so just say? Or, someone is saying something. What does this mean? And it will answer everything for you in the background. I think it's incredibly helpful. You won't have situations where you didn't catch what was said anymore. Sometimes, there's that moment when someone asks, what do you think? In such cases, if you pause for a moment and ask the AI, what do you think? It might just give you an answer. I think it's incredibly useful. It's not about doing anything bad, it's about making meetings more meaningful by adding a text chat feature. This is called an AI chat advisor. There is such a thing. It gives advice only to you, and since it responds with a high-performance AI, it's incredibly impressive. I want to make the progress of the meeting easier to understand, so I will keep updating this continuously. I'm not quite satisfied with the current situation, but eventually, I want to know what the status of the meeting is. There's something called graphic recording, which is a profession. During meetings, there are people who draw on a whiteboard, and I think that's really great during meetings. I think it would be great if AI could organize the current situation and present it on the board, including the visual aspects. Ultimately, I want to achieve that. As for whether it will be realized or not, I'll just say it's a matter of time. And then there's facilitation. It's about saying things like, I'd like to hear so-and-so's opinion, or having AI say it. It's someone who guides the discussion towards being constructive or productive. This role of a facilitator exists, doesn't it? Even in human meetings, there are facilitators, right? The quality of the facilitator can completely change the outcome. If the facilitator isn't very good, the discussion won't be productive at all. But if the facilitator is extremely skilled, they can draw out the conversation very effectively. Ultimately, it means being able to achieve good results. For example, when discussions become too focused on specific details and everyone gets heated, someone might step in and say, that's just the specifics. Let's take a step back and consider what's important from a broader perspective. If there were an AI capable of doing that, I think it would make discussions better. Also, this device provides audio output. This is useful when there are foreigners involved, as it can translate into English and provide English pronunciation, so it can also output audio. Therefore, it is quite helpful in online meetings when there are foreigners present. I will also prepare reports. This includes creating minutes and reports. And of course, we will produce accurate and advanced minutes as well. You will learn to infer and create reports according to their intended use. Additionally, there's collaboration optimization. It automatically organizes the division of tasks decided in the meeting. I explained this earlier, didn't I? Record the tasks that arise and assign them. In short, when a task arises, it's assigned to someone. It's like pulling out from the discussion who is responsible for what and creating it yourself. It's a multifunctional knowledge base. This might be a bit hard to understand, but there are pre-meeting materials, right? You use them in meetings. Those are also recorded, and they become knowledge as well. Of course, the previous meetings themselves are also knowledge. They are information. They are prior information. Make it possible to refer to the related knowledge information. I will also make cloud storage usable. What this means is, for example, you have things like Google Drive, right? If you register cloud storage like that, you can search through it. The AI will automatically search and retrieve information from it, allowing you to reference it. We will provide such a feature as well. Additionally, I aim to support advanced decision making. I've long wanted to do something like this. Functioning as a personal think tank. It's extremely important to have a system where you can ask for advice whenever you're troubled. And when you do, it's incredibly helpful and reliable. Isn't that what a think tank is all about? But the only thing that can achieve this is the AI within the company. Another thing was a blind spot. In other words, my scope is narrow. My scope is narrow too. I can only see within my own range, the range I'm currently interested in. So a lot of blind spots inevitably appear. Having the assistance of an AI with minimal bias is incredibly beneficial, and there are so many issues that can be discovered with AI nowadays. Compared to a year ago, my productivity is completely different. It's that significant. I want to be able to use it without any preparation at all. Active Portal. This refers to what is currently called the My page on this donutAI. Right now, it's a page where the meeting minutes and conference data are listed. However, in the process of evolving it towards comprehensive business support, in other words, towards Generation 2, we want to transform it into what we call an active portal. In short, it displays only the information I need, tailored to me. This is something unique to AI. I want to actively pursue this kind of approach to eliminate complexity. For example, I want to display only the tasks that I should focus on right now. Wouldn't it be nice if it just showed what I need to do at the moment? That's what this is about. With an active portal, we aim to make things simpler and more user-friendly by dynamically adjusting the UI to suit the individual. So, as for the result, I think it would be great if a culture could be established where everyone looks there first. This is provisional for now. The content is about enhancing management features, and it's the timing when the research functions, such as searching and referencing meeting minutes by the AI assistant here, will change from the previous My page to the active portal. Additionally, there's the proxy participation feature of donutAI from the video conference participation link. There's one more thing, like when you say, "Let me join the meeting when it starts," and I can't join, "Please attend that meeting for me," and so on. If you let AI handle that, what AI does is simply record the video and bring it back. That's what it will be able to do. I'm thinking that I'd like to make it almost completely ready by the January update, but it's already planned to be updated into something incredibly useful by the end of the year. Regarding security, it is interesting, but it has not yet been decided as a product. Personally, I think that strengthening personal authentication is essential. It's not just because it's trendy, and it's not just a matter of personal authentication is necessary these days. That's not the case. To tell the truth, if we don't strengthen this personal authentication, it will become difficult for everyone to use. The reason is that, for example, a lot of personal information gets entered. Company information also gets entered very quickly, doesn't it? At that time, we want it to be set up so that it only displays when I am right in front of it. Otherwise, this AI system won't be a system that can be used with peace of mind. I haven't heard of using facial recognition for personal authentication in business management systems. However, I believe it is necessary and important. So, I would like to implement it here as soon as possible. This is a bit unrelated, but it's also one of the premises. It serves to reinforce my proposal. What does it reinforce? I think I mentioned that if you make it infer multiple times, it becomes smarter. In fact, modern AI has been continuously increasing in cost effectiveness. Back in 2022, consider that 1 megatoken roughly equaled 1 million characters. That means if the AI listened, produced output, or answered questions totaling 1 million characters, it cost about $60. At that time, I even said $60 was cheap, but spending around $60 still imposed certain limitations on what we could do. However, now it's down to 17 cents. And what's more, the AI has become incredibly smarter compared to 2022, and the price is now 17 cents. At 17 cents, it's practically unlimited usage, in my opinion. Up until now, it was a simple back and forth. We would just answer questions as they came, but now we can do that hundreds of times at the same cost. We can provide incredibly detailed responses. Plus, we can input a lot of information as background information. That's what we can do now. Furthermore, by next year, the cost will drop below 7 cents. Actually, I made this graph a little while ago, so it shows predictions like this, but we now know it'll drop below 7 cents within this year. With something called prompt caching and other such methods, even that cost could be reduced to a tenth or so, approaching almost zero. That's the kind of world that's awaiting us. Some people say that these kinds of infrastructures, essentially LLMs, like those provided by OpenAI, such as GPT-4, are cheap now, but will become expensive in the future. They say that once everyone starts using them widely, the price will go up. There might be people saying that, but it's completely unreliable. It will definitely become cheaper. There's no reason for it to become more expensive. Both hardware-wise and structurally, it can only become cheaper. Moreover, it's not a world where things can work out by making them more expensive, so it will definitely become cheaper. So, you can rest assured and keep improving the performance more and more. So, we would like to propose starting a future-oriented way of working with donutAI. For my part, I'm developing and implementing it because I want to use it to solve the areas where I'm weak or constantly struggling. This donutAI constructs the automatic knowledge base, autonomously creating sources of information and maximizing the capabilities of both organizations and individuals. In today's world, where business speeds continue to accelerate, donutAI can truly become the ultimate mobile suit. We believe it will turn into a must-have for us. Therefore, if you want to seriously implement AI, if you want to experience AI to its fullest, it begins with donutAI. Did everyone become interested in donutAI? Donut Robotics is currently offering a full-spec version of this donutAI for free. All the features of donutAI are available, so please take this opportunity to try them out. The features explained this time include some that are currently not implemented, so please check before using them. The details are explained in the description box. Let's have AI join the meeting.